Everybody's here? All right, we'll get started then. Thank you all for coming. I'm David Sorencione. I'm the Sheriff of Ontario County. To my left is Chief Matt Nielsen of the Canandaigua City Police Department. And to my right is Lieutenant Lee Martin of our Criminal Investigation Division. We are here to update you on an incident that happened in Ontario County last night and the investigation continues into today. I have a prepared statement that I will read and then provide each of you, and we will take some questions afterwards. We will answer what we can. So at this point, I can report that on February 28th, 2023, at 11:20 p.m., the Ontario County 911 Center received a call from a citizen who reported that he was following a sedan eastbound on Route 5 in the town of East Bloomfield. This caller stated that he heard a firecracker or gunshot come from the vehicle. A deputy in a marked sheriff's car intercepted the vehicle on Route 5 near Buffalo Street Extension in the town of Canandaigua. The deputy observed the sedan cross over the center line 2 times and activated his emergency lights and siren in an attempt to stop the vehicle on Route 5 near the West Avenue extension. The operator failed to comply and continued eastbound on West Avenue into the city of Canandaigua. The operator continued to drive erratically, going through the front lawn of the burned area on West Avenue before continuing southbound onto South Pearl Street. The suspect fired multiple shots from his vehicle as he traveled south on South Pearl Street. The deputy continued to follow the suspect from South Pearl onto Parish Street, where the suspect traveled east, running the red light for South Main Street and crossing Route 332 or South Main Street, and continuing into the City Mini on Main Street, where he drove through a fence and struck a curb, at which time the vehicle became disabled. By this time, multiple deputies and officers from the Canandaigua City Police Department had converged in the area. The suspect exited his vehicle with a handgun and began walking on Green Street, advancing on officers. Officers gave multiple commands for over 8 minutes for the suspect to stop moving toward them and to drop the gun, all of which were ignored. The suspect then raised the gun toward the officers. At this point, 2 sheriff's deputies and 2 city police officers fired at the suspect, striking him. Officers immediately detained the suspect and requested an ambulance, all while assessing his condition and rendering aid. Within 2 minutes of the shooting, Canandaigua ambulance arrived and took over medical care of the suspect. He was transported to F.F. Thompson Hospital, where he was pronounced deceased shortly after arrival. The suspect has been identified as Brandon M. Zirkin, age 31, of Warren, Pennsylvania. Mr. Zirkin is a white male. To this point, we have not identified any links between the suspect and Ontario County. The investigation remains very active by the Sheriff's Office and Canandaigua Police Departments with the assistance from the New York State Police. The New York State Attorney General's Office is also investigating this incident. On behalf of Chief Nielsen and myself, we commend our officers who responded and used tremendous restraint in trying to de-escalate this subject and this situation. We are thankful for their safety today. Members of the Sheriff's Office and the Canandaigua Police Department also send our condolences to the family of Mr. Zirkin during this difficult time. With that, I will take some questions. Yes, sir.
So, with all due respect, the press release that was sent out this morning
Yes.
says no police officer was injured, no member of the public was injured.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like there was a lack of transparency to the public to find out what really transpired during that shootout with officers?
In terms of
someone being shot and killed, because it's alluded to that no one was injured, no one was.
Well, it didn't say no one. It said no members of the public. In this instance, I would not consider Mr. Zirkin a member of the public. He was the subject and the suspect of this investigation.
So what would be defined as a member of the public, then, just so clarification
Sure.
for viewers?
Someone who's not involved in the incident at all, like a bystander that comes out of their house while this is transpiring.
What connection does Mr. Zirkin have to the area?
We have not found any connection he has to the area. Again, active investigation very early. you know, our officers and investigators are trying to connect with family and law enforcement down in Pennsylvania. But to this point, we have found no connection and know of no reason why he would have been up here at 11:30 last night.
Do we feel that he was on any sort of substance upon this, or what are we thinking there?
We don't know. He was transported from Thompson to the Monroe County Medical Examiner's office for autopsy, and of course they will run toxicology, but we don't have any of that result yet.
Does he have a criminal record, as far as you know?
None in New York State, and we were still trying to get some results from Pennsylvania as of a short time ago.
And just for clarification, who all responded last night?
The Sheriff's Office and the Canandaigua City Police. And then the New York State Police did come afterwards and assisted at the scene.
He said the officers at the scene were giving him instructions for 8 minutes to drop the weapon.
Yes.
That seems like a long time, 8 minutes. Can you kind of describe what that was like, those 8 minutes?
There was a lot of de-escalation tactics there. The officers were verbally engaging him, trying to bring the situation down, and then to try to engage in that conversation where they were able to offer him assistance there.
And so he had the gun down for the entire 8 minutes?
A lot of it went from various positions throughout throughout the encounter there, but the final result was when he did raise a weapon at the officers on scene.
Chief, were you on scene?
No.
No.
When was the last time something like this ever happened in Ontario County or in the city of Canandaigua, where police had to resort to shooting a suspect?
For the Sheriff's Office, it was 2009. I'll let Chief Nielsen speak to the city.
We did have an incident in a similar area in 2019 or 2020.
And because this is an officer-related shooting, will the state AG be investigating this, or have you guys been in contact with them at all?
Yes, so we contacted them early this morning. They've been down here, and they are also investigating this.
You said there was 2 officers and 2 deputies who fired?
Yes, sir.
Can you provide the names, or?
Not yet. We will in a couple days.
Are they veteran officers?
So our 2 officers both have 3 years on the road patrol. One worked a couple years in our jail before that. And I'll let Chief Nielsen speak to the longevity of his officers.
We have one sergeant with 9 years experience that was involved, and we have one officer that is a 5-year veteran of being a police officer. He's been at the city of Canandaigua for 3 years.
How close were they in proximity when the shots were fired to the?
I can't say for sure. I mean, we're still doing diagrams and measurements and haven't drawn those out, but.
It was close enough that he was a very realistic threat to the officers in their location.
Yes.
And this is a tragedy for officers, having to fire their weapons at a person, especially after such a long de-escalation period. How are they doing now after having this happen?
We spoke with them at length and offered several different layers of support before we released them this morning to go home, and we will continue to check in with them, obviously not just today, but as we go forward. And, you know, they will be on an administrative leave at least, you know, potentially for 30 days while we work through this. But that's important for them, too, to decompress. And, you know, this is a traumatic thing for the officers also, as you mentioned. And it takes 3, 4, 5 days before they even process that mentally. So they're going to be going through a roller coaster of emotions, and we will continue to check in on them and support the officers as they, you know, recover from this incident at home.
You're both losing 2 lawmen. How does that affect your department, manpower-wise?
We can absorb it. It's results in mandatory overtime, but we would rather extend the hours a bit for the officers to fill in that absence than have these officers come in and work through this time this soon after this event.
And Sheriff and Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, you said 2009 was the last time you guys have handled an officer-involved shooting, right?
Yes, sir.
And then 2020 for you.
Correct.
Speak to the gravity of that, though, of having to deal with this, even though yours was more recent, but, you know, almost, 13 years later?
Yes.
14?
This will affect every member of this organization, and I'm sure I speak the same for Chief Nielsen. So these officers, not just the officers that were involved and responded last night, but every member of our road patrol that's out there answering calls for service to protect our community every day, the next time they get a call for a reckless driver or make a traffic stop, this is what's going to be in the forefront of their mind. At the end of the day, you know, it makes us safer, but it's just another incident they have to work through, but they will do it. They are competent, professional officers dedicated to protecting this community, and they will forge on and continue to do their jobs.
Can you tell us how many shots were fired and what the weapon was that the suspect had?
Yeah, I don't want to comment on that just yet because we're running a concurrent investigation with the Attorney General's office, and some of this we have, some they have, and we just haven't had. On the scene.
Any drugs,
Up near the scene.
alcohol?
There were some drugs, no alcohol, some pills and things, and we're still inventorying that to see what's there.
Did the suspect fire at the car that was originally?
Deputy to intercept this suspect was fired upon on South Pearl Street. We have recovered shell casings from South Pearl Street. We have not located the casing on 5 and 20 yet, but again, the investigation continues.
Was the suspect's car stolen?
No. No.
Yeah, just to clarify, when the deceased, did he fire a weapon at the officers?
Still under investigation.
In the,
But raised?
Yes, definitely raised.
in the house that it happened behind, I won't say the address for purposes we're on live right now.
Sure.
How is that homeowner doing? That must have been pretty alarming from people I spoke to. He said, officers were warning, put your gun down. We don't want to do this.
Yes, Lieutenant Martin, you want to speak to that a little bit? We spoke with the people in that house.
Yeah,
And
we have spoken with the residents that reside there. They're doing as well as you would expect a person that has been through this to be doing. And again, just like our officers, we're going to continue to support everybody that was involved in this incident, help them work through what they went through.
yeah. Anything else? Thank you, everyone. We will, obviously, when we get significant updates, we'll get them out. For sure.